Hey, another edition of Topa Talk, and today we got Arizona Jones. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
AJ, Arizona Jones. Been tracking you. I found you through my wife. My wife was tracking you because she loves the petroglyphs and all the ancient sites you visit and share. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Go by Arizona Jones. Do a bunch of outdoor stuff, mostly about history. I'll write a bunch of articles. I'm saying a bunch a lot. Articles, videos, just different media, trying to teach people about our history in the Southwest, sometimes outside. But
where are you going to so people know? So they're listening to this, so they're trying to figure out, well, what do you write about?
So my favorite thing to write about is ancient places, which Arizona has thousands. But I also like to write about ghost towns, mines, even some historical figures.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I go to one of your Facebook pages, so you have two, we'll talk about the Arizona Jones Facebook page first, which is facebook.com/the AZ Jones, right? And your posts are basically ancient sites, as you mentioned. A lot of them have petroglyphs. I know you don't necessarily share the location of these ancient sites, which is cool, but a lot of people, like my wife and myself too, like to see these things because they're so fascinating. What gave you the idea or inspired you to do this?
So, the funny thing is it didn't start off with anything ancient or even historical, really. But a little over 5 years ago, I was going through a divorce with my ex-wife. She left for somebody else. And there was that whole first year where just trying to figure out what to do with myself. But then, nearing the end of that first year, I decided I should get back into dating. And, things had shifted to be, things like Tinder, online. So I needed some interesting profile picture. And at the time, I didn't have any. So I thought to myself, maybe if I just went hiking, got a decent camera phone, something like that, go find these cool places and see if I can get into it that way. So I did that, found a decent camera phone, got the tripod, a shutter remote, started hiking. And then, it was a few months later, I had met this guy. He was a tour guide in Sedona. And he invited me to come up, and we were supposed to check out this nearby canyon for fall colors. But when I got there, he asked me if I'd rather see ancient ruins instead. And at the time, the only ancient ruins I'd seen was Montezuma Castle.
Right. Cool place.
It is a cool place. I originally visited it in 6th grade with my dad. Didn't really give a crap back then,
Who does give a crap about anything in 6th grade?
Right. I was too young to appreciate it. But so I agreed to go. And next thing you know, we get to this site, and it was just amazing to get there and see, like, people lived here. You're looking out over the canyon and just their beautiful view, which, by the way, even in the same ruin, this same site, you can look across the canyon and see other sites as well.
Right.
But it was just fascinating to me to know that, many hundreds of years ago, people lived this way. It kind of built into
thousands of years ago, and people new to Arizona may be unaware how many of those ancient sites, not only ancient sites, but just
we have
amazing destinations. That's why Prescott Valley, that's why we created the Prescott Valley Outdoor Summit, which you will be at September 30th and October 1st.
Please come see me.
Yep. Come check out Arizona Jones. But that's why we created it, because we're in the center of all these places. From here, in 90 minutes or 90 miles, you can jump to thousands of different destinations, ancient sites. You got Sedona, Flagstaff, the Verde, where Montezuma Castle is. We have dozens, if not hundreds, of petroglyphs here in Prescott Valley.
Yeah, I mean, even I could give. So as you said, I don't give away too many sites for their own protection, but I do occasionally give sites away if I think that they're adequately protected. But if just for example, anyone who lives here in Prescott, you can just go on to Google Maps and type in Petroglyph Point, and you'll get to a number of petroglyphs right in the middle of a neighborhood.
Yep.
Super easy.
Know that rock well.
Yeah.
In fact, that rock, we bought it from the photographer. We blew it up really large. It's shot at night. And what was interesting to me about that location, or at least the photograph, was everything in the photograph is from the past.
Yeah.
The rock, the illustration on the rock, the light from the sun because it's sunset, the stars because you can see the Milky Way, and that's all ancient light. It's this contemporary photograph that's capturing everything in the past. So if you sit and think about that for a little bit, it's kind of boggles your mind. So there's so many sites like that, and that's what you share online.
And that's one of it's funny you bring that up, the capturing the past. And that's one of the reasons I like photography, is one of the things I do. I like to go to these places, but it's not enough to just go. I need to take them with me, and
Right.
I like to share them with other people. But, again, like we're saying, just all the crazy history we have throughout Arizona, it's just mind blowing. But just to give you an idea, there's other things people don't know. Sedona, for example, Sedona has 500 documented ancient sites. It's nuts.
I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, if you're, so if you've been down the 17 and you know where the, just before you're heading down into Black Canyon City, you have that rest stop on the right, the Sunset Point. Have you ever looked off to the the east, and wondered what's out there?
Well, I've been out there to
Agua Fria?
Yeah, Agua Fria and the ancient, the rooms.
Yeah. Well, you know how many ancient sites there are in the Agua Fria?
There's got to be hundreds.
300.
Yeah.
Documented that we know of.
Have you read or from any of the archaeological studies how many people they estimate lived in the region throughout the
I did read
thousands of years?
I did read an estimate. It's not coming to mind top of my head, but yeah. And, I mean, there was a short-lived period where a culture referred to as what's it called? The Perry Mesa tradition is what's mostly associated with Perry Mesa.
Right.
However, there were other groups like the Hohokam that came through, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but yeah, a lot of history in that area.
Just a massive amount of history.
Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, you look at somewhere like the Phoenix metropolitan area. Phoenix is built on top of ancient ruins and many, many miles of ancient canals.
Sure.
In fact, some of those canals are still in use today by SRP.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, there's an ancient one north of downtown Tempe, just on the other side of the 202, still in use.
Okay.
And up on that hill, ruins.
So speaking of ancient sites, the other Facebook page you have is Ancient Arizona. It's a group by Arizona Jones. So you can search on Facebook for Ancient Arizona. And which one did you start first? Did you start the Arizona Jones first or Ancient Arizona first?
Arizona Jones.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what was the motivation to create a secondary site?
Well, I created the group just as kind of a networking tool.
Okay.
But also, to, along the veins of networking, Facebook groups have been a great way for, at least me personally, meeting people, and making new friends. And you end up finding more places this way as well by connecting with these people.
So communicating.
Yeah. Like-minded individuals. So that was the main idea behind that. Also, to market my own stuff, because I do different brands under Arizona Jones.
Okay.
So one of them being Ancient Arizona. I have an Ancient Arizona calendar I put out each year.
This is based on the photographs you take throughout the year on the sites you visit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But having an accompanying group for each of these brands helps to promote that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you get, I'm mad because I know we all know social media can be kind of vicious.
Yeah.
Do you get people worried that they think you're giving away the site locations and, you're degrading the constitution of these sites?
So actually our very first rule in Ancient Arizona is the equivalent of don't ask, don't tell.
Okay.
Unless it's a somehow protected site, like I mentioned earlier. And for that, like if people aren't sure, they can just ask me or another admin if we agree. But even then, here's the thing: you're never going to please everybody.
Definitely.
I'll have people mad that I share anything, even a photo.
Right.
And I'll have people mad that I don't share enough. Like,
yeah.
So you know what?
I get it.
I'm not about pleasing all these people. I'm just going to do what I think is the right thing to do. And personally, I think people should know that these things are out there, but they should not be told where to find them. And I personally think that if you are going to put in all the work to find these places, you're going to have more appreciation for them when you do find them. You're not going to want somebody to just go there, blast it on social media. 1 million people show up. That's gone.
When you say protected site, I'm assuming you mean ancient sites that maybe are inside a national or state park.
Well, not quite, because say for instance, even in the Agua Fria, that's a national monument.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to go giving away those locations, except maybe one or two, because no one's going to be watching these people. When I say protected, it means it can be multiple things. There's either somebody there watching you, there's cameras set up, or it's in the middle of a neighborhood, like the site from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of insurance that it's going to make it less likely to be destroyed.
Gotcha. Have you been approached by any state groups about these ancient sites in terms of preservation and helping to promote the preservation of these places?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So what's one of your favorite sites in Arizona?
Well, I can't give an exact site, but I can tell you two of my favorite areas, which are just incredibly beautiful areas, I might add, is the Sedona, obviously. I'm there all the time. And a lesser known stretch of wilderness called the Sierra Anchas. And it's just beautiful out there, and there are a ton of
Where's the general region that you're talking about? Because I haven't heard that name.
See, I didn't think you would. Right. Most people don't. That is just to the east of Lake Roosevelt.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty close.
Yeah. No, it's like a 3-hour drive from Phoenix.
Have you explored, my family and I over the last holidays went on the Verde Canyon Railroad for the first time.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
And I think there's a few sites in there. It looks like there's a couple caves. I was wondering if you'd kind of gone down there.
So yeah, over, the Tuesday Goat area.
Mm-hmm.
In that same area, actually on the other side of the river, like in the Clarkdale region.
Yep.
You can actually see from this camping area. You can look across and you can see up in one of those alcoves. You can see some ruins. There's more up on those hills. I haven't checked them out yet. I've sent my drone to one of them.
Have you explored a lot of the Verde area? Because I imagine because of the water, that water's been around probably quite a while.
Yeah, actually quite a bit. In fact, one of my favorite places to explore is the Verde Valley.
Right.
But I mean, I consider the Verde Valley to be everything from Mingus all the way over to where you're heading to, you're heading out the 260, leaving, heading towards Strawberry. And there are just unbelievable amount of ancient places through there, mostly Sinagua. You get some Hohokam, some other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And actually one of my favorite experiences for ruins in the Verde Valley, and to get to this one, we actually had to cross the Verde River.
Okay.
Very hot day. It was outrageously hot, but we crossed the river. That was fun. Went around into this nearby canyon, found some ancient ruins, spent a significant amount of time there. And it was just so hot that day. Most of our hikes at these places, you'll start off early in the morning and then you'll head up the side of a mountain. By the time it gets hot, you're coming down a mountain. So at least, you're going the right way. This is one of those exceptions where you start off at the top of a hill and you're going down,
right, and
you're coming up later when it's hot. And I remember I had plenty of water that day, but I don't handle heat well at all.
Right.
So my friends went ahead of me a little bit to cool off in the river while I was still getting pictures of the ruins. And then I followed shortly behind later. I actually passed where they were hanging out and I went back to where we crossed initially. And while I was waiting for them, I just chilled in the river for a bit. Actually saw an otter. That was cool. And I remember when they finally showed up and we started going up the hill, I was so dehydrated that I had to have one friend carry my camera bag and another friend carry my backpack. And even then I'm like wondering if I can make it back.
That's Arizona for you, man. We're up high too.
Yeah. Well, people love to talk about our dry heat, but what else was dry heat? The sun. I'm not a fan. But I get back to the car, and this was a first for me. You know how a Charlie horse feels.
Uh-huh.
I have that in both my legs, down into my feet.
Cramping up.
Yeah, down into my feet for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's dehydration.
Yeah, I've never had it that
We
bad.
talked about that with Cody Lundeen in a recent episode here on Topo Talk about, because he trains people for being prepared in survival. And I think a lot of people, especially people new to Arizona, especially new up here, we're at 5,000 plus feet. So you have both the altitude and the sun and the heat working against you, but you can get just as dehydrated in the wintertime up here. It's very dry.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people kind of forget about. Oh, I just got my one bottle of water and they're out for 4 hours. That's hardly enough up here to stay hydrated. You start cramping up like you did. And the worst case is that it starts messing with your mind because you're dehydrated. Now you're not making the right decisions and you start to get confused. And that's how people get lost.
Yeah, plenty of people getting lost without any of that.
Cody would not be happy with you.
Sorry, Cody.
Cramping up. Yeah. But he'll be there too.
Well, here's the thing though. I'm always prepared. Almost always. But the fact is I just don't regulate heat well.
Yes.
But it's funny that you bring that up because you remember a few years ago, I don't remember how many, but I think it was 40 people from Oklahoma, I think, had to be rescued off of the Superstition Mountains.
Well, we hear about it. Like we get something in the news on signalsaz.com about, I think in the summertime, it's once every other month. It's usually one or two people either perish or get evac'd out for exposure and getting lost.
Yeah, and it's
always
warned.
Amazing to me that even just people driving on the 17, which gets shut down or blocked all the time, that they don't have water or a blanket or some. Like I always tell my family, "What are you guys bringing? We're hitting the 17. We could be on it for 4 hours, or we could be on it for 90 minutes."
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons I like to go down at nighttime when it's a lot cooler out. But it's funny because so another example of the Superstition Wilderness. I remember it was Peralta Canyon, and this was a number of years ago, and I think it was around a year after that incident with the 40 Oklahomans.
It's nothing about Oklahomans. We're just making that clear. We're not profiling you.
I mean, I might be.
Okies.
So I'm coming down from the top of the mountain. This is a summer day. It's already getting hot. When I'm on my way down, and this guy is running up, he's got just some gym shorts, t-shirt, only 2 water bottles, and he's already sweating his ass off, and he's near the peak here. And talked to him for a few minutes. He's from Michigan, and he. Come on, you're embarrassing us Midwestern folks. I'm from Wisconsin. But I gave him a couple of my own water bottles, told him not to become a statistic.
Yeah.
But it's people aren't usually, they don't think through the big picture here. They just take minimal and go.
So it makes you think about, you're visiting these ancient sites, how the ancient indigenous people actually survived. We talked about this with Cody.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
They were survivalists. I mean, they're barefoot.
Incredibly resourceful.
It's just, the terrain is so unforgiving. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. Arizona's got to be one of the most beautiful states I've ever been, but it's unforgiving, right? So Sycamore Canyon, been through there?
Well, it depends on which Sycamore Canyon you're talking about. There's
the one up, I guess you would call that, based on what you just described, as the Verde area.
Okay, yeah, the one in the there's also another Sycamore Canyon up by Williams with a beautiful waterfall. Actually, 3 waterfalls.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been to that one as well. There's some really cool ruins out there.
Are there?
I can't give away the locations, but some of the best.
We were there briefly 2 summers ago with a bunch of folks just hiking through.
Yeah, you get to Red Rock country. It's just, man, it's a treat for the eyes.
Verde, yeah, Williams is beautiful too.
Yeah.
So let's talk. So you got these Facebook pages, but you're also branching out into some other media. You got something coming up. What's that all about?
Are you talking about my show?
Talk about your show.
Yeah. So technically, it's not my first show. It's my first real attempt. I have another show that I started a few years ago. I haven't done too much with it, but I called it Minute Docs. Just
right. I remember we talked about that briefly.
Yeah, just minute-long documentaries, which I think is a good idea. I haven't done too much with it. But for just as much time, I've had this idea for another show, like a more closer to traditional format.
Is that When Walls Talk?
Yes.
Okay.
When Walls Talk. But actually, I just finished my first episode.
I'm looking at the clip here on the Arizona Jones Facebook page. I think it's your intro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very proud of that.
Cool.
I have more ideas for that intro, but it's going to take some time. But yeah, my buddy and I, we were out in the Superior area on Saturday and filmed for 9 hours under the hot sun. But came back with a lot of good stuff, and I put it together over the last few days, and then I uploaded it to my locals community first, I think yesterday, and in a few days it'll be out on YouTube, and then a few more it'll be on Facebook.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm very proud of how that came out.
You'll learn through production that shoot as little as you can, because for every hour you shoot, you have, what do you think the ratio is, Wilson, our production guys? Probably a couple hours to 4 hours. There's just so much post-production time. And if you can get really good at shooting and then take home less to post-produce, it's a little easier. He's smiling over there.
Oh, see, it's definitely a lot of work. And I'm not ignorant to that. Yeah. I knew it would be. I've been doing some form of video for years, but I'd rather have more to work with and know that I have what I need than going with my lazier self, which wants it to be more streamlined.
Right.
But I know that if I spend the time getting extra stuff, that I'll have a more quality product to share. Awesome. And it did take hours. And keep in mind, I did this all from my phone.
So When Walls Talk is coming out soon.
It's out right now.
Okay.
The first episode, it'll be a while between episodes 1 and 2.
Where can they find this first episode again?
So it's on my locals community. If you go to theazjones.locals.com,
okay,
the first episode's up. Yeah.
So we got Arizona Jones on Facebook at facebook.com, the AZ Jones. Yes, you also have Ancient Arizona. So search that group. And then your show come out When Walls Talk, and that URL is what again?
I don't have a web address.
For your video.
Oh, yes. So if you want to watch it now and support me on my locals community, it's theazjones.locals.com.
theazjones.locals.com.
Yes. And then in a few days, if you can't afford the $3 to support my work per month, it will be on YouTube in another few days. And that address is youtube.com/theazjones.
And if you want to meet the real Arizona Jones in person this September 30th at the Prescott Valley Outdoor Summit at the Findlay Toyota Center and surrounding grounds, he will be there exhibiting. Thanks for coming in to Topo Talk. Will you come back maybe?
Oh yeah, certainly.
All right, brother. We appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon, and keep sharing ancient sites, but don't tell them where it's at.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thanks.